I am Michael O'Brien, a British racing driver from the UK, currently at McLaren Newport Beach. So yeah, enjoying my time here. I'm a racing driver through and through. That's my profession, it's what I do. And yeah, I love trying to win races and race these exotic cars. So I grew up right near Silverstone in the UK, which is the beating heart of motorsport in the UK for anyone that doesn't know. They call Oxfordshire Motorsport Valley because all of the Formula One teams are in Oxfordshire. You've got Silverstone, you've got Donington Park, you've got Alton Park, all within like a 2-hour driving radius. So I grew up in the beating heart of everything engineering, everything racing, and I've been going to Silverstone since I can remember, actually. My whole family have been into motorsport through driving. My father used to race, he used to do touring cars, British Formula 3, different pieces like that, different championships like that. And he's still involved now. He has a business at Silverstone on the technology park. He lives, breathes all of my races, follows the calendar. So I'm motorsport through and through. Yeah, so what got me into racing? That's a really good question, because it wasn't the generic, oh, you're just going to go karting and do loads of laps, do loads of races and build your way up to a Formula car and a GT car. I was a little bit different in the sense that I started doing mountain biking with my friends. We all went to school, we all used to ride bikes after school. This was in primary school. And there was a couple of us that really had a competitive edge. You know, whatever we were doing, even if we were just riding around the park, would be who can do the quickest time, who can do the quickest lap or get through this section the fastest. And that escalated into then entering competitions on the bikes, pushing each other to do better and better and better. And that was really my first competitive environment, in a sense, that I was against the clock, I was competing against other people. And that's what got me hooked on the winning and the competitive mentality. And from that point, that then transitioned into car racing through the family background, started doing some historic motorsport. And once I'd jumped in the car and competed for the first time at Silverstone, then there was no going back from that point. Then I was like, I don't know why I've waited so long for this to happen. Yeah, Silverstone was my first competitive race, and it was my first driving experience as well. So they have, inside of the Grand Prix circuit, they have a small circuit called the Stowe circuit, which is essentially like a go-kart track, but slightly wider. And you can go and hire the track, you can sort of do your initial driving experiences on that circuit. And I remember one day we hired a bit of time on the track, we took a little Formula car, and that was my first driving experience as well. It was a Formula Ford, which is open wheel, slicks but no wings, single-seater, manual stick-shift gearbox. So that was the car. Yeah, that was an interesting story about how I became a professional driver, from really having I had the competitive element for sure, but I didn't have at first I didn't have I guess the belief that I'd ever be able to do it professionally. And I started, my first full season was in 2017. This was also running in Formula Ford, the car that I tested. And everything was going well. The season was probably better than I anticipated in terms of results and how quickly I got up to speed. And at the end of that season, McLaren were doing an assessment for their driver development program, which was essentially 4 spots. And the prize, if you won one of the 4 spots, was to go and compete in British GT, so a really prestigious SRO series. They flew all of the drivers out to Paul Ricard. There was 16, 17 drivers. And we had to do a number of tests. We had to do qualifying runs, we had to do race runs, we had to do media interviews. And they weren't looking for the perfect product. They were looking for 4 rough diamonds, essentially, that they could mold into a driver for the future. And again, at that point, I didn't have any expectation, but I did the shootout. I managed to win one of the 4 places. And then from that point, that's when I really started to believe, and I've never looked back since. Yeah, 2018 was my first year with McLaren Automotive on that driver development program. And then I've just continually pushed myself to do better, to improve, and yeah, keep the ball rolling. On the racetrack, my favorite McLaren model to drive, I think it's got to be, and I'm not just saying it because I'm racing it at the moment, but the McLaren Trophy Evo car, the one that we're competing in now in Europe and in the US, that's an amazing car. They've got push to pass this year, which is like a first for the series. So in McLaren Trophy, you've got the car, the McLaren Trophy Evo, and they've added in this push to pass system. So you've got 300 seconds, which you can deploy basically tactically at any point during the race. So you've got these 300 seconds, it gives you all this extra horsepower, and you can use it to attack another car, you can use it to defend, you can use it to overtake, but you've got to be really strategic, because if you use it all trying to chase someone down, you then maybe can't overtake, or if you have a safety car late on in the race and you've got none left, you've got all these cars behind you, a push to pass, you're going to lose some positions. So it's a real tactical tool now that we can use in addition to the already competitive series that will give you an edge at the right point if you use it correctly. What's going through my mind when I'm racing? Well, that is a good question, because it obviously varies and changes upon the situation that you're in. And I often find when you're in front of another car, you've got a lot more to think about, or there's a lot more going through your mind. So you're thinking like, right, I need to hit all my reference points, make sure I'm braking at the right point every lap, stay smooth, stay consistent, make sure I hit my marks. Whereas when you're chasing someone, it's hard to remember what you're thinking. You know, you've got the bait in front of you, and all you're trying to do is just chase down that other car. You almost forget everything else that's going on in the race. But I think as a driver, if you're just crystal clear with your thoughts, if your breathing is right and you can think about things clearly, as in your strategy, when to go onto the radio for the engineer, everything then becomes a little bit easier. So you're always just trying to keep a clear mind, keep a clear vision on the race, keep your tires in good order. All of the little nuances that people at home probably don't realize when you're racing and they see the cars just tearing around the track. There's so many little micro decisions that are happening every lap, every corner, to try and put the car in the best position. My greatest motorsport accomplishment, that's a good question, because I feel like, especially at the stage I'm at now, where you keep striving for more, you don't really take too much time to reflect on it. But I think one thing that really stands out for me was my first race in the 720 GT3 car. We turned up, this was at the beginning of 2020. It was my first year of GT3, and we turned up to Alton Park, again, British GT, round one. No real experience of the car. Knew it was a great product, but hadn't had the time to test it. The deal came together for the season quite late, and we, together with my teammate, we went on to win the British GT season opening race. So I won my first ever GT3 race in a crazy track, competitive championship. That was really a highlight for me. I think you have to, that's where, if you can think about and adapt to the car that you're driving, that's where you get all these little bits of competitive advantage. So the pre-planning in terms of visualizing laps, maybe driving a simulator, getting yourself back in the groove of the car is key. And then if you can think on your feet and once you've driven all the vehicles once, it almost becomes a little bit easier, because you can second guess the balance of the car, you can second guess where the grip's going to come in and drop out. But you really have to be on your toes in terms of knowing the nuances, how the car's going to react, especially the vintage cars where you've got old like cross-ply tires, loads of movement. You do that and you jump back in a GT3, it definitely takes a few laps to get your head around the product, that's for sure. Favorite racetrack? That is a good question. My favorite racetrack at the moment would have to be Spa. Why? Because it's just such a challenging venue, there's so many iconic corners, the weather's always changeable at Spa, so even going into a race, as a driver, you're like, well, I never quite know how this is going to go, because it could be dry on one part of the circuit and completely wet on the other. So even before you get there, or even despite knowing the track well, at Spa you always think, you know, we're in for a challenge because it's so unpredictable. I think that combined with Eau Rouge, Blanchimont, all these legendary corners just make it every time you go to Spa, it feels like a spectacle. So that would be the favorite track for me. Yeah, I mean, the teamwork in motorsport, and especially in a GT championship like McLaren Trophy, is everything. You know, we as drivers, we get all the glory and the podium and the champagne, but that is such a small part of everything that goes into the weekend. I mean, these teams, they rehearse for hours on pit stops, on tire changes, on refueling, getting all the strategy right, getting the tire pressures in the right window, making sure the car's on the weight and the setup's just over the legal requirement. There's so many factors that people don't see at home that go into it that start all the way back in the workshop. We always say the real hard work's done before you get to the track, because you've prepared the car, you know all of your plans, you know if something goes wrong, you know what you're going to do in that situation, or if this outcome happens, you know how you're going to change things up. And being organized and having a good synergy between the team is almost as important as the driver. Well, it is as important as the driver. We're just the last piece of the puzzle that can make the mistakes normally and cost people's hard work, because you know the team, from the mechanics to the engineers to the truck drivers, whatever it might be, everyone puts in the maximum effort, and you're the one that's got to bring it home. So you've maybe got a bit more responsibility, but that's just to not let the whole team down. My one piece of advice for someone looking to get into racing would be to go about things in a logical way. I think it's very easy to get carried away with thinking like, oh, this is what I want to do, but I don't really know how to get to that point. I think if you are looking to do something, getting a lot of opinions is important, and then going about the program the right way. So, as in if you're wanting to do McLaren Trophy, you speak to your retailer, you go and do a track day with a coach, you work at it methodically and go about it in a productive, sensible way to achieve the goal. You know, you don't rush into something that you're unfamiliar with. You make sure that you've got the knowledge, you make sure you're with a good team, and make sure that you do all of the foundation work before you jump into a race situation. That's one of the key things, because I've seen so many times people think, oh, you know, I'll just go out and buy a race car and take it to the track, and then it goes wrong, you know, because they haven't done the groundwork and the foundation to get there. I actually don't. I know a lot of people do with the socks or the gloves or the race kit, but I'm pretty boring, you know. I just get changed, get in the car and go and do my thing. Favorite car to drive on the street? I'm an SUV kind of guy. So I would say that the box ticks for me would be something comfortable, something good on fuel, and something that doesn't hurt my back when I arrive wherever I'm going. So SUV, something big that doesn't suit my personality. That would be my favorite street car. My dream car would be a McLaren P1, for sure, in Volcano Orange. Yeah, that would be my dream car. Exactly, yeah, like this one. Yeah, so some of my favorite moments so far, aside from the results, which have been really good, we've won 3 out of the first 4 races so far. It's just been the travel and experiencing these European circuits, these legendary tracks like Monza we've been to, we've got Spa up next, and it's trying to make the experience of enjoying the whole weekend. You know, you're not just going to these places to race, you're taking in the history of the venue, all the events that have happened in the past, the legendary F1 races that have happened at these venues, and just trying to really enjoy the experience as a whole. I think I've been guilty, especially the last few years, of doing things and not enjoying it. So the favorite moments this year have really just been trying to take it all in a little bit more and enjoy the moment, to be honest. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, to do that and to stand on the podium at Monza like that was incredible. I mean, you see it in the F1, and okay, there wasn't as many people there, but you still get the same feeling of walking across the pit lane on the little gantry bridge, it's moments that you dream about, I guess. You know, you never think, oh, I'm going to stand on the top step at Monza. Next minute you're there and you've just won a GT race. It's a pretty special feeling. One of my favorite foods in the US since coming is, there's probably quite a few, but I would say the tacos here, especially in California, are really good compared to what we can get in the UK. Like the authentic tacos definitely are good for me, and the Vietnamese coffee as well. That's a highlight for sure. That's an easy one. It would be fish and chips for sure. Yeah, the legendary fish and chips. Now that's a good question. Batman or Superman? For me, it's got to be Superman every day of the week.
And why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I'm like, the clue is in the title, right? Like Superman wins out every day. Yeah, in terms of physical activity and workout regimes, I think you have to be just targeted to the car, right? So you work the areas of your body that you know are going to take an impact in the car. So the neck is a big one. You can do like lots of different activities to train that with specialist equipment in the gym, but also going out to the kart track, doing stuff with a helmet on and free weights. Like you can make it up as you go along at home, as long as you've got the weight to lift on your neck. Getting your neck in the right shape to drive these cars is important. I mean, you build it up with time in the car, but it's a shock to the system because no one ever trains the neck in the gym normally. So that's a big one. Getting the right brake pressure. So everyone always underestimates how hard you have to hit the brake in a race car as well. They're like, oh, you know, I brake hard in my street car. And it's like, well, no, this is a whole different thing. So I think having the strength in your legs too, to hit the brake with the right force, is also something that people underestimate, and definitely not an area to be overlooked when training. Yes, yeah, left foot braking for me all day long.